Sec.
There it goes.
There it goes.
Yep.
All right. We're, okay, we need a roll call attendance. First of all, this meeting is being recorded. But we need a roll call attendance.
Tenio, aye.
Bill Ambrosino, aye.
Brendan Chanel here. Aye.
Liana,
Liana Moore, aye.
Lisa,
Sorry, technical difficulty for a minute. I'm here. Lisa Hilton, aye.
Is somebody else here?
yeah,
Pat Doherty's
Patrick
here.
Doherty is, but he's not a voting member. so-
No, I,
Okay. Can you hear me though?
Yep. And we have
Okay.
Derek Furs as well.
I don't see him on.
He's on page 2.
Oh, that's right. I'm on Teams, so. it's a little
I
bit
know.
different.
Hey, Derek.
Hi, I don't know if I need to respond or just.
Sure, you're good.
No, you're not an appointed member yet. If you'd like to be, actually, Ann, you need to, just name in here. Can you hear me, Ann?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
didn't hear
need
what
a
you said.
roll- Yeah,
What?
we need a roll call from you.
Oh, Ann Mazar here.
You must be on page 2.
Yeah, I am on.
Three.
page. So I think, we, should be all set. I think the first order of business would be to take care of the organization of the committee. Which is the chair, vice chair, and the secretary.
I can help, Bill. You want me to ask for nominations and then we'll go from there?
Sure.
Okay, I'll ask for nominations for chair. Someone?
I'll throw my name in there because I
All right, we have
kind
one.
of set the whole thing up.
Yeah,
anyway.
I nominate Bill Ambrosino, sorry.
Thank you. Okay,
Broke
anybody
up, Lonnie.
else? All right, can I hear a motion to elect Bill Ambrosino as chair?
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
Second,
All in favor by roll call, please?
Tenio, aye.
Hilton, aye.
Moore,
Chanel, aye.
Ann Mazar, aye.
Congratulations, Bill. Now you can handle
Yeah.
the rest.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Congratulations in order, but, all right, well, so we'll move on to the vice chair position. Do we have any recommendations for the vice chair position?
I know Ellen said in her email that she would throw her
Don't
name
all-
in.
I think we're gonna need Ellen probably as secretary.
I nominate Lonnie Tenio.
Hey, Matthew.
How you doing?
Matthew, could you just announce your roll call?
Matt Clark here.
Thank you. Do I
I'll
have a
second
second?
Lonnie.
We have a second for Lonnie. All those in favor, roll call, please.
Matt Clark, aye.
Hilton, aye.
Bill Ambrosino, aye.
Moore,
Ann
aye.
Mazar. Ann Mazar,
Chanel,
aye.
aye.
All right. Well, that takes care of that.
Just a quick note, oh, thanks, I guess, but, I'll, so for the roll call votes that we're gonna do moving forward, I'll run down the list. That way we're not all going, who's gonna say it next, okay?
That's
Fair enough.
a good idea, Lonnie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, now, the secretary, I nominate Ellen. I know she's not here, but she's kind of
Second.
handling those duties anyways. So,
Second,
do I have a second?
second,
All those in favor?
Tenio, aye. Ann Mazar,
Aye.
Bill Ambrosino,
Aye.
Brendan Chanel,
Aye.
Leanna Moore,
Aye.
Lisa Hilton,
Aye.
Matthew Clark.
Aye.
Thank you.
Oof.
Sounds great. Okay. All right, now we can move on to the agenda. Did you want to bring up the agenda, Gabe, or?
Yeah, so next on the agenda, we have accept meeting minutes from August 27th.
Okay,
I move to accept the meeting minutes from August 27th, 2024.
so moved.
No, you would second.
Second. Yeah,
Call for the vote.
oh yeah, all those in favor, sorry about that.
Yeah, Tenio, aye. Ann Mazar.
I think I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
Fair enough. Bill Ambrosino.
Aye.
Brendan Chanel.
Aye.
Leanna Moore.
Same, I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't there.
Thank you. Lisa Hilton.
Aye.
Matthew Clark.
Aye.
Perfect, okay. Next order of business.
We're going to review the revised accessory dwelling unit bylaw that Jane, Jack, Dylan, and I had met a couple times to edit based on comments at the last meeting. So I can screen share that.
Yeah, please. To make sure we're all working from the same document.
Absolutely. So can everyone see that?
Can you blow it up a little more, Gabe?
Yep.
Yep, I can see it.
Oh, yours doesn't have, does yours show the changes?
No, so I submitted a version that did not have the changes, but we can continue. I can make sure that we maintain track changes going forward. But we can talk through what changed from the last time.
But Gabe, there
Sounds
were a
good.
couple items as well as the next two that
Yes.
had to be discussed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we can talk that through. But in the future, I think Lonnie emailed about retaining track changes in the future. So
that was me.
Yeah, I think that was Brendan.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, we can keep. I'll make sure to keep that as a practice going forward.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Gabe, before you start, just so Brendan and the committee knows,
yes,
the simple ones we just did changes, but we highlighted, and you'll especially see it in the next two.
Yeah,
The issues that were policy issues that
yeah,
have nothing to do with the bylaw as far as legalese or
right,
as far as state statute.
right.
But I don't remember what we did here. I think I know a couple of them when I see them.
Yeah, I think the main thing we did was I think we tried to get this bylaw. So I believe I know. Sorry, I can't see the full chat right now. I think Anne wasn't in the last meeting, right? So just for clarification, anyone else who forgot or wasn't there, recently the state passed a law where towns are now required to allow accessory dwelling units in single family zones by right, with very limited restrictions. So you can't require owner occupancy. You can't require that there's a familial relation. And then there's you can there's some other regulations which we'll get into as we go through this, but the intent is to increase the housing supply, create easy ways for towns to add to their rental market, that sort of thing. So this bylaw, I think, has been brought to a place where we are kind of in line with what the state is expecting in terms of what will be allowed or not. That being said, if people are if anyone's talking to people in other towns about this, the town is not necessarily required to pass something. You just want to make sure that the building commissioner isn't preventing anything from getting built that is allowed by this. That is, the state is requiring be allowed. So I'm glad we're working on this, because I think a lot of towns are going to want to do their own ADU bylaw going forward. But in the short term, if people are talking to other people in towns, you know, we shouldn't all be, not every town doesn't need to stress to get something in at their fall town meeting if they have one. So that's just the background. So the purpose and intent section, we didn't change. The intent of permitting accessory dwelling units, ADUs, is to encourage a more balanced and diverse population and income mix, provide older homeowners with a means of obtaining through tenants and accessory dwelling units rental income, companionship, security, and services, thereby enabling them to stay more comfortably in homes and neighborhoods they might otherwise be forced to leave. 3, add moderately priced rental units to the housing stock to meet the needs of smaller households and make housing units available to moderate income households who might otherwise have difficulty finding housing within the town. 4, develop housing units in single-family neighborhoods that are appropriate for households at a variety of stages in their life cycle. 5, provide housing units for persons with disabilities. And 6, protect stability, property values, and the residential character of a neighborhood. Moving on, procedural requirements are very limited because of the nature of how we're interacting with this. So use and dimensional regulations. Again, for context, the state is requiring municipalities to allow ADUs that are at minimum, it has to be up to 900 square feet in area or half the area of the primary dwelling unit, whichever is smaller. So that's kind of where we're at with the dimensional regs. So the building commissioner may issue a building permit authorizing the installation and use of an ADU within an existing or new single-family dwelling or in a detached structure on a single-family home lot only when the following conditions are met. A, the unit will be a complete separate housekeeping unit containing both kitchen and bath. B, only one accessory dwelling unit may be created within a single-family house or on a housing lot by right. So we got some clarity in a couple of meetings with EOHLC that we are allowed to limit it to one per lot, and it seems like for the sake of simplicity going forward, that would make the most sense for Mendon right now. C, any new separate outside entrances serving an accessory dwelling unit shall be located on the side or in the rear of the building. D, the minimum floor area of an accessory dwelling unit shall be in accordance with the state building code. So I think this came up in the last meeting, but I think it might be helpful when you go to town meeting or when you're discussing this with people in town. The state building code requires a minimum of 150 feet of gross floor area. So theoretically, if you had a 300 square foot home, you could get down, the smallest it could be would end up being 150 square feet. And that a homeowner could go for that as well. E,
That
the
would
gross,
be if it's in the house though, right? If it was an accessory or a detached, it would still be able to be 150 or something, right?
yeah, I mean, it could be in the house or detached, could be 150 square feet. Oh, I see what you're saying. I think for the purposes, yeah, I would have to get clarity on how that would interact if it was within the home itself. But I think because you're treating it as a separate dwelling unit for, market purposes, and rental purposes, the state probably would want to see that minimum of 150 square feet. Since it has the separate bathroom and kitchen, by legislation. Because otherwise then it would, not be qualified as an accessory dwelling unit if it didn't have those features. So then again, E, the gross floor area of an accessory dwelling unit, including any additions, shall not exceed the area or height of the main residence, but shall be clearly subordinate to the main residence. The new dwelling unit shall not exceed 900 square feet or half the area of the primary dwelling unit, whichever is smaller. So I know at our last meeting, there was some discussion about going over 900 square feet, if that would be desirable at all. I know people mentioned there are some large houses in Mendon that might accommodate a larger accessory dwelling unit. I know people talked about looking at 1,000 square feet or 1,200 square feet. Is there any interest in exceeding 900 square feet as an allowed size?
I mean, I think, from my perspective, if you're doing it in a basement or a walkout basement, and if it were a very large house, limiting it to 900 square feet, seems to not make sense. You know,
Mhm.
do it by special permit or something like that.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what
my
we had
opinion
talked
anyway.
about last time. Yeah,
Yeah,
we had talked about
Gabe-
last time up to
See, the
something by right.
statute says you can't rule by special permit if it's 900 square feet or less. So if the
Yes.
committee wants to go higher, it would have to allow the planning board to issue a special permit. So we'd have to add some more language in there. That's all.
Or you could allow it by right up to 12,
Yeah,
like up
that's-
to
Yeah,
which
that's
I
what I was gonna.
I thought
which
the statute said 900.
so you
Yeah.
can't disallow under 900. You
Yeah.
can disallow over 900, but you could do it not by my understanding is you could allow 1200 by right if you wanted to.
No.
There's nothing. Is that not true, Jane?
No,
No, that's
Oh,
not-
you would
No,
have
it
to do a
says-
special permit?
if it's over 900 square feet or they want a second ADU, it's by special permit.
Well,
But the
they were
town
the-
can limit it to just one.
They were
Okay.
the two options in this section, or the first sections that we talked about. Do we want to do two? We decided one at this point. It's up to you guys. And then do we want to have a special permit provision to exceed the 900 up to 1200? We didn't put it in. I've been using Bill's wisdom here on a lot of things, but we're gonna walk before we ran, but it's your call.
Yeah. Let's let Lonnie and then Brendan talk.
So yeah, if I could just suggest that, and I think this is what we were trying to get towards last week, unless it changed, but I think what we were trying to get to was, okay, half the size of the current, well, that gets silly too, because now what are we taking, you know? Are you considering below grade part of the square footage? Like, but okay, so we're figuring like on an average, we're seeing on average houses are between 2,000 and 4,000 square feet, right? For the most part in Mendon. So if we look at a number of 3,000 square feet and we say, okay, by right, you can go up to half the size of your square. So you can do half the size of your square footage up to 1,500 square feet. After that, you come in for special permit, right? So no,
No,
No, it's
only
whichever is smaller.
can't exceed 900, no matter how big the house is.
That is
If
a
it's
But
by
what I'm
right.
saying- well, hold on. But what I'm saying is we're going to increase it over 900, but base it on the size of the house.
But I think the statute, Lonnie, yes, you can increase it by special permit, but the statute says you can't go over 12, right? Am I
It
right
says you
about that?
can't go,
By special
Oh.
permit.
You
Let me
can't
check
go
that.
what?
I'm gonna pull up the language.
I've been running on the assumption you could go between 900 and 1200 by special permit. Anything over 1200, you'd have to go to ZBA. I may be wrong though.
I don't think the housing bond bill 1,200 was a number I think we just talked about in the meeting. All the housing bond bill says is under 900 or half the area of the primary dwelling has to be by right.
Okay, so
And if you want to exceed that in terms of number of units or floor area, you can do a special permit.
got it. Okay, so you can set it anywhere you want, or don't set it
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
So what's
The other
answer to that question?
yeah, Brendan, do you have
Brendan, go
something to
ahead.
say?
Oh, I just wanted to reiterate, I think my recollection is that last week we had discussed and I was advocating for 900 by right and then 1,200 by special permit. Or half the size of the main house.
That
And-
sounds good. I mean, that sounds good. That sounds like a middle of the road.
Yeah.
So if we can put that in there.
And do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, you don't want it to be too big because then it's just
Right.
another house that people can't afford. And I think the idea of it is to have some, places that people can live that maybe might not be able to afford a big house.
Yeah.
Who's doing the little thumbs up? I like that.
That's me.
Just a quick, so thinking about size, 900 square feet is pretty small when you take into consideration, these being potentially secondary structures on a property and, separate bathrooms, separate kitchen. So it's, 1200 seems to be a little bit more forgiving. May not be a big deal with a special permit, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah, my first house was 1,100 square feet. So, but like, I think it just gives a little bit of flexibility for that situation where you have a large house on 30 acres or something like that, and you don't want a 900 square foot mini house. Maybe something a little bigger is more appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, I will draft language for that, and I can send that out to the committee by the end of the week.
Yeah, and sorry, just to interrupt for a sec. I do think we should pull the language of the statute, because I'm just reading a summary. I haven't grabbed the language of the statute yet. I was just reading some summaries on it, and it does say it may not be larger than half.
Oh, okay.
But again, this is a summary, and sometimes summaries are imprecise. So I couldn't multitask and talk and grab the statute at the same time. But I think that is either a takeaway, or as we're talking, if I find the exact language, I'll let you know as we're talking. But if the statute says may not be larger than, then we don't have a choice. If it's just the reverse, that you can't prohibit something by right. If it's this size, then obviously we can make it larger. So.
Okay. Yeah, and unfortunately, right now the Mass General Law website is down. So.
Huh.
Yeah, I know.
Perfect.
That's why I went to the summaries, and of course, the summaries. I'm like, well, I can't tell if that's imprecise summary or exact language.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Too many people are looking at it like we are.
Brendan,
Patrick.
did you want to add something?
No, that's it. I'm good.
Patrick has his hand up.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
Patrick.
just a question on the definition of it. Is this the square footage? Is that like the living area? If you did a detached unit and wanted to put a garage, for this secondary unit, would that be included in that square footage? Just a question, or if there was
I don't
storage
believe
with
so.
that as well.
Yeah, I don't believe so, because I think, hypothetically, the ADU is going to be either a subordinate thing to the house, like as a detached unit, like a barn or something, or it will be attached to the house. So if you were adding a garage, I don't think that would contribute to the ADU, unless you built a garage that had a kitchen and bathroom in it.
Yeah, my question is more like if you wanted to put a second structure, a detached structure for the ADU, and wanted to allow that ADU to have a garage,
Yeah.
or extra storage space, or it had a foundation, is it just the living space that's included in that 900 square feet, or would it be all of the floor area?
That's a good question.
So
I think a garage would just fall under another outbuilding. I don't think.
So
No, if it were in the same building, Bill, is what I'm thinking. If say at my mother's house, we put a detached 2-car garage with a living unit above it, but the living unit could access the garage. Is it?
Yeah,
what's that
I
900
think
square feet?
the way I interpret it is it's living space, and garage certainly isn't living space. But
yeah, so just
Do we add that in the definition somehow, or should that be in there, or is that just something
might be a
that would
good
be?
idea.
Maybe in the statute.
I think so. Again, just going off what potentially may be an imprecise summary, it talks about not larger than half the gross floor area. I'm assuming gross floor area is defined in the state building code. So maybe that's what we reference, or that's where we take our lead from.
Yeah. Lonnie?
Yeah, so when we're looking at house plans to build a house, we do not calculate the garage as square footage for living area. Same thing when we're listing something in MLS to sell a house. The garage is not included in the living area.
Yeah. And under state building code, I have it in the comment, but they look at habitable room as we're looking at it's like habitable living space. So again, I think that would just be thought of as like an accessory outbuilding, even if it was attached. But we can make sure to clarify that in if in the definitions that are like related to this. Okay, so just moving on from this, I'm gonna write language about up to 1,200 by special permit. Moving on, F, the construction of any accessory dwelling unit must be in conformity with State Building Code, Title V of the State Sanitary Code, and other local bylaws and regulations. So that protects us from when we're looking at, septic and sewage disposal issues, that we will not be building these in areas where they can't handle it. There's no minimum lot size for an ADU, provided that all dimensional regulations are met and there's sufficient space to provide for adequate and safe water supply and sewage disposal. And then H, at least one off-street parking space shall be available for use by the occupants with adequate access and egress from the site. And then we added, to limit the development of additional curb cuts, occupant parking spaces should be accessible using existing driveways on the lot.
Is that a should or a shall?
I think it's a should. There is a bit of we do have some leniency in terms of the building commissioner can, I think for accessibility purposes, we're looking at allowing a little bit of wiggle room so that if you're building a unit for, an elderly or disabled person, you could, you maybe could go a smidge over 900 to accommodate, entryways or something. So I think in the same spirit, it makes sense to give some wiggle room to the builder so that we're not preventing something from getting built just because of parking.
Okay, makes sense.
And then, in order to encourage the development of housing units for disabled and handicapped individuals and persons with limited mobility, the building commissioner may allow reasonable deviation from the stated conditions where necessary to install features that facilitate access and mobility for disabled persons. Prior to issuance of a permit, a floor plan must be submitted to the building commissioner showing the proposed interior and exterior changes to the building. And then moving on to administration and enforcement. Oh, Anne, and then Brendan.
It's just like a little thing, but we have a building inspector, so maybe it should say
Okay.
building inspector instead of building commissioner, that's all.
No, we have.
Thank you.
John Erickson's a building commissioner.
Is he really? Okay.
Yes,
That was
absolutely.
building. Okay.
And Brendan.
Do you have a?
Yeah, I had a quick comment before we move on, and maybe this is the right time to take it, maybe it's not. I remember when we were reviewing the short-term rental bylaw last week, that we ultimately decided it probably would be a general bylaw. We had discussed not allowing the construction of new accessory dwelling units to be for the purpose of becoming a short-term rental. I guess my question for everyone here is that still the policy we'd like to take, and does it make sense if we don't do short-term rental bylaw at this time to put some language around that in here?
So you're saying we'd have language that in no way state.
That's just my question. Just my question. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know the right way to do it, and I don't even know. I mean, I'm not even certain.
Yeah, I'm not sure that belongs in a zoning bylaw.
Yeah, I don't see it there.
Maybe we
Alright.
could reference something that for use for short-term rental needs to be approved by the town or something of that nature.
Yeah, I just wasn't even sure if that's how we still wanted to go. Just wanted to bring that up and
Yeah,
possible gap I saw.
Yeah, because the principal unit can always be under the current law, could be a short-term rental. But under your scenario, the in-law or the ADU couldn't be.
Just
Yeah.
kind of odd.
I think we should, for right now, Brendan, I think my opinion is we should leave it out of the zoning bylaw. That's more.
Put it
of
in
a-
the short-term rental bylaw. Okay,
Yeah,
makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah, and the state does have a carve out that you can regulate STRs out. Like you can regulate that ADUs can't be STRs. Those are one of the regulations they explicitly say you're allowed to do. But I agree. I don't know if it really fits in this bylaw. Lonnie and then Liana.
Sorry, yeah, just how are we even gonna enforce that? I mean, unless, how would you know? Like, it doesn't, that's
Right.
the reason I think we should leave it out, that's all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Liana and then Anne.
Yeah, I get your point regarding enforceability, Lonnie. I think you have that problem no matter what you write here. But I was just to pull on the string that the statute does explicitly say that you can prohibit short-term rental for these ADUs. And so I do think that if you want to permit them, you should be explicit about that. And if you want to prohibit them, you should be explicit about that. In my personal opinion, just based on, what the purpose of this bylaw is, that you probably should prohibit them. Again, that's just my personal opinion, but on the other side of it is that because the statute specifically says you could prohibit them, you should be explicit in your zoning bylaw as to whether you permit it or prohibit it.
To add on to that point, I mean, if someone's looking to do this and they look up the zoning bylaw and then they build this thing for that purpose and then they go to permit it, say we had a bylaw and it's prohibited, they're going to be pretty pissed off.
Right. And then the other thing is you can also require a special permit for the rental of an ADU. So, again, that's something to consider and leave something out that's specifically discussed in the statute. It does kind of leave some grayness. And like you said, you don't want someone building something thinking they could do something and then the town saying, no, you can't. So.
Anne and then Lonnie.
Yeah, Leanna makes a really good point, because I think one of our issues with our zoning bylaws are sometimes the information that a builder needs isn't in there. And so I agree with that. And also other towns have had real issues with the short-term rentals because it defeats the whole purpose of trying to have housing for all different kinds of incomes. So I think that it's something that we should look at seriously.
I agree. I agree with the arguments I'm hearing. I think there should be a paragraph or a sentence prohibiting.
Lonnie.
Yeah, just make sure that we spell out what short term means. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? What's short term?
Yeah, typically you're looking at any rental period of under 30 days. So obviously you can rent an apartment month to month. But I think that's sort of the traditional definition is we're looking at under any rental thing that's under 30 days. Yeah, Liana.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, because I don't know if I saw it in this bylaw or not, apologies, I didn't have a chance to look at the bylaws that were sent yesterday. Do we address rental at all in here?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think the state allows you to prohibit rental
So
or to special permit it.
Right, it doesn't allow you to prohibit it, but it looks like you can require a special permit for the rental. So again, I think just in combination with that, I don't think you have to do like 3 pages of like rental provisions, but if you're going to address the no short-term rental, if you're going to add a line or 2 about that, you should also address whether, regular rental requires a special permit or not, or if that's by right.
I kind of got the feeling that this entire ADU bylaw that the state released kind of, their attempt to increase the housing market. I think their anticipation was they would be rental units at some point.
Yeah, I
think if we go and try and limit that, there may be a problem, may never get approved.
Yeah, you're not limiting it, you're just requiring a special permit. You can't prohibit rental. The only thing you could prohibit is short-term rental. So you have to allow rental. The question is, do you allow it by right or by special permit? And then the second piece of that is, do you prohibit altogether short-term rental, which I believe you when you say it's probably less than 30 days. I don't know if there's a statutory definition for short-term rental anywhere, but you're probably right about the time frame for short-term. I just don't know.
Jack and then Lonnie.
Yeah, this is going into a direction I didn't know we were going in. I am floored that they're gonna allow and have specific regulations for rentals of ADUs if they're trying to encourage affordable housing or available housing for that matter. So you
Yeah.
can rent the regular house, no questions asked, but you have to get a special permit or may have to get a special permit for the ADU. I think that's sending all kinds of
Yeah,
messages.
I agree with Jack. That was gonna be my point in a second, was that, that, you know, we're gonna regulate short-term rentals. Okay, so we regulate the short-term rental of the ADU unit, but then they decide, okay, well, we're gonna live in the ADU unit and rent the house out.
Right.
It's like,
Lonnie and then Liana.
Yeah, sorry, I just get on my soapbox again with, we're just adding more red tape that isn't, I don't see that is necessary. Who cares if they rent it? All the power to them.
Liana.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to be confusing. I didn't mean to suggest that we had to require a special permit. Just that because it sounds like we were going to address short-term rental or might address short-term rental, you should also eliminate any uncertainty as to the other rental ability, right? So whether we decide that, again, you can't prohibit rental, you can only prohibit short-term if you want to. That's not a requirement that you do it, it's just you're permitted to under the statute. You're also permitted under the statute to require, to allow a special permit for rental. Again, you're not required to require a special permit. I was just giving you the kind of iterations of the statute. So you could very well, in this bylaw, you know, address rental to say rentals permitted, right? You could say long-term rental requires a special permit and short-term rentals prohibited. You could say long-term rental is permitted by right, but short-term rentals prohibited. I was just giving you the various iterations of what you're allowed to do under statute, suggesting that you could not, you could basically get in the way of rental. You obviously, you cannot prohibit rental of it unless you're talking about short-term. And I do, in my personal opinion, I'm okay with prohibiting short-term rental only because if the goal of it is to get housing on the market, short-term rental, I don't think meets that goal. That's more like your Airbnb type rentals in my mind, is my opinion.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Thank you, Liana.
I agree with Liana that let's prohibit short-term rental. Let's leave the other alone. I mean, we're not advertising that you can rent any house. I mean, I think it's too complicated. It's sending mixed messages, I think, by
No, and
putting
they
it
can
in the
still
bylaw.
rent it, they just can't do short-term rentals.
Right, but advertising that it can be rented, I think, sends mixed messages.
Yeah, I got you.
So do you want me to add language as well prohibiting short-term rentals in ADUs?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, moving on. The administration and enforcement, I don't think we need to really discuss today, because we're going to be, spoilerplate, and we're going to have to modify it to add language relating to the planning board now that we're adding special permit to stuff. So I'm going to be doing edits on this. Probably I'll try to get these done honestly tomorrow and send something back out, and maybe Jack and Dylan and Jane and I will meet, or we'll figure out how to move forward.
Well, we might have other stuff. Hey, Bill, I got a question for Bill.
Sure.
Town meeting's coming up. I know the committee quite a while ago decided that ADU bylaw was a priority for fall town meeting. Is the planning board going to sponsor this? And how are we going to?
I mean, I got to put it in front of them. That's why I need as soon as possible. We need a final version of this.
That's where I was going through the dates at last night's meeting, Bill. The deadline is October 8th. for the
So-
bylaw,
Yeah, so we can put
for
this
the
in
article
front of-
rather.
Well, we can set the public hearing date.
Well,
Oh,
that
you're
I'm not
talking
worried
about-
about. It's more getting the article in and sponsored by the planning board.
Well. I mean,
Let
we
Dylan
can-
and I figure something out. Well, even if we have to
Yeah,
have
well,
a
you gotta put
10-minute meeting.
placeholder in and.
Yep.
You know, we've done it before.
You can put a
Address-
placeholder in.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Okay, thank you.
I don't think you can put a placeholder in for bylaws. They have to be the actual wording, right?
No, you
Um,
can put a placeholder in.
Department heads can.
It's gotta
Or
be, it's gotta
departments
be
or
available,
boards.
it's gotta be available to the community 14 days before the town meeting.
Oh, I see what you're saying, a placeholder, not, but for print of the warrant, it has to be the full article.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have that. We'll have that by the 8th. It's just trying to
Yeah, and
get
if
the
any
board
changes,
together.
we can put in what we have. And if there's any changes, we can amend on the floor at that time.
Yep.
If something comes up in the public hearing, we'll amend on the floor at that time. All right. So we just gotta make those changes and then, the final version, I don't want to really take a vote on it, until it's amended. But that puts us in, what I'll need you to do, Gabe, is give me a copy of the revised, probably, by the end of the week.
Yeah, that I'm doing that.
Yeah, so I can get, and I want to be totally transparent with this, so I'm gonna send it out to all the boards and committees, so they can all have a shot at it. And
Bill, I'm looking at the calendar. This committee meets in 2 weeks. That's October 1st, and they vote on it or any other article. We can then put the placeholder in the whole bylaw in.
yeah, all right, why don't we plan on that?
Okay.
Set the next meeting for the October 1st. All right,
Leanna's got her hand up. Leanna's got her hand up.
go ahead, Leanna.
Yeah, sorry. I just had one quick question, since I know you guys are trying to finalize this, and maybe I missed it in the bylaw, but I see where we say only one accessory dwelling unit may be created. Do we address anywhere more than one accessory unit?
No.
No, I
So
think
We're-
it's,
Go ahead.
I think if only one's allowed,
That's it.
that's it.
The only reason I ask is because I thought, but still can't get access to law, I thought under the law, you are allowed, you had special permit rights for more than one. Again, I don't have access to law, so I can't tell if it's required that you have to let it by special permit
It's
from one. It's not.
it's not required.
Okay,
This
And
is
we talked
yeah.
about this at the last meeting and they decided one is it, period. For now.
okay, no,
for now.
that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. I just wanted to make sure we were complying with the law, and I can't get access to it all. I just had in my notes to ask about the special permit for more than one. So I'm perfectly fine the way it's written. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have any issues with the statute. Sorry, carry on.
All right, so on to the next one. This one,
Ugh.
this one gives me headaches.
We spent a lot of time on this, and I'm glad you have the highlights for policy discussion, as I called it. Yeah.
All right, let's try and move quickly through these.
You're muted, Jane.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We did not make a whole lot of changes to this one. In meeting with Jack and Dylan, they wanted to keep certain items still highlighted because those are policy decisions that, once it goes to planning board, would
Yep.
need to be discussed further. But I don't think we made many changes to this one at all.
So Yeah, I don't know if you want to go through the whole thing, Bill, or just a highlighted section. We all know
Well,
what a,
I think we beat this with a dead horse the last meeting.
well,
Um,
yeah, but there was, there's considerations here, how many flag lots you want? Do they have to have frontage on an accepted public way or any other kind of way?
Yeah, I think there was a debate over whether it had to be an accepted public way or
Yeah.
proposed.
Yep.
Um,
And again,
I think we
I
discussed. Yeah, I
and
think we did-
Dylan just did a very conservative approach to this.
I will tell you, having reviewed like Upton and Sutton and a couple other towns, Oxford and Sturbridge, ours is probably one of the more stringent ones, the one that we've created here. If you look at Upton's, there's like almost no restrictions within it. So I just want to be careful over restricting. You don't want everything to have to go to ZBA or so, if something's within a subdivision and has a proposed road and they've met our criteria, for the first coat, are we going to restrict the development of that lot until the road's accepted? Because roads in Mendon don't get accepted for like 10 years. I mean, it's like
not
ridiculous.
supposed to be that way, Bill.
Yeah, just happens that way. So
I'm just, I'll tell you from my experience, and I've said this at the last meeting, I've worked in towns who don't allow them, period.
right.
This is, I work in Uxbridge. This is kind of like Uxbridge's, for better or worse. It's a policy decision. It's not
Yeah.
a professional decision or
I just
a legal decision.
The way I look at it is these guys go in and develop, say a project like Misco, Sylvan Springs, whatever you want to call it. Do you want them coming back, 3 years later? Maybe they got 2 or 3, because that's a huge development, 50 something homes. Do you want them coming back 2 and 3 years later and creating another construction environment within the subdivision to now finish off these lots once the road's accepted? Or do we want them just to build them out, get done with the project and move on? Why?
Obviously not creating multiple mobilizations and disturbances, right? That seems that practical.
Yeah. Lonnie?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I definitely like the latter half of that as far as again being done with a project and then moving along. My other question on this was, I know that I had some confusion on this bylaw last week where we were doing common driveways by right. Remember?
That's the next one, Lonnie.
That's the guy. That's its own. Oh,
Yeah.
never mind. I'm
We
sorry.
did a
You're right. You're right.
separate
I'm sorry.
bylaw.
I thought they were together. My apologies. My apologies.
Ann?
I just have a concern. In the past, the ZBA has allowed pork chop lots. And then certain owners have come back 5 years later and said, oh, I want to add 2 more houses. And so how could we prevent that? Like if someone does build a pork chop lot, can there be some kind of deed restriction that it's only 1 lot can be built?
Well, you're making the assumption that they own other land. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, a pork chop lot could have, like 50 acres, let's say. So, I mean, the shared driveway is coming up, so we can talk about that. But
Yeah, my only concern with that would be, Ann, would be that if we force the hand of how many, let's say they got 50 acres. If you tell them they can build 1 house on that 50 acres, you know what's happening. There's a subdivision going in. So I think at times we actually work against, the bylaw works against what we're trying to achieve. And you know, I don't think anybody's going to take a 50-acre parcel and put one house on it, you know. They might put two, or they might put three, depending upon how they're split up with within, you know, those type of lots. And that certainly is more advantageous than having, you know, 20 houses in a subdivision.
Can I point your attention to 1A and 1B? So 1A says that only one flag lot can be created from a single parcel. If you want more, you're gonna have to do subdivision.
Oh, yeah, that should have been highlighted too. That's a policy decision.
Both of
Okay.
these,
I mean, if everybody's comfortable with that, that's fine. I mean, you know, with low impact development regulations, you know, the creation of a road isn't as strict and conforming as far as drainage and stuff. I mean, we work with you know, something that is, you know, low impact, you know, would only require you know, swale, shedding from the road, instead of you know, all the stormwater structure that would be required for a regular normal road. So I think it still meets the you know, if someone wants to put more in, they submit a subdivision.
My only comment, not concern, is I've seen these flag lots become very abusive. Not well, none have come before. Well, I guess ZBA has had them in Mendon. I haven't nothing to do with that, but in other towns, there's examples all over the planning world of abuse on flag lots. That's why I was trying to be conservative, that's all.
Can you elaborate a little bit on, so I think to make a tight bylaw, you kind of look at how it's been abused and try to plug the holes, right? Do you have any examples? Because I'm concerned about abuse too, but I'd like to hear what you
Well,
say.
you could have 10, this is
No, I
obviously.
don't think there's a problem with what we have here. I mean, if we're gonna allow one flag
Oh,
lot,
well, then there's no abuse, yes.
yeah, then either that, they could go to the subdivision control law, which, like I said, you know, everybody thinks that, you know, if they gotta put a road back there these days, but with low impact development on something that, you know, ends up becoming 2 or 3 lot cul-de-sac,
Yep.
the requirements of the road aren't as strict as.
Yeah, if you're gonna leave it to one lot
drainage.
per property, then
Yeah,
I think that's very conservative, but still reasonable.
Lonnie?
So how does this affect the common driveway law then? So if we get if you have a pork chop lot and you can fit 4 lots on there and you can do a common drive, is this now saying you can't do that?
Here's where I think I left off at the last meeting, Lonnie.
Yes.
What do you mean 4 lots out of one flag lot? How could that flag
Okay,
lot is a one lot standalone?
Where I live,
I don't know. I don't even know where you live, to be
I
honest with you.
showed it down at the last meeting. I
Oh,
showed
well,
it.
that
Come
the
on.
ZBA gave that. That's a variance.
No, I understand, right? So right now people are coming in for these along with the pork chop lots, and there's an attorney that gets on board with them and says these are not allowable by rights. You should change the zoning bylaw. I'm like, okay, well, we are, right? So
Okay.
we're granting them. We've granted multiple of them, and now they're starting to fight them, right? So you've got a piece of land that
Yep.
has short frontage.
Yep.
Consider it a pork chop lot, and your house is out in the back, or you
Yep.
have enough. And in this case, we had plenty of frontage, and then created, which was going to be a subdivision with multiple homes, and then said, okay, let's not do that. Let's just do 4 with a common driveway.
But where did the other 3 lots get their frontage from?
the frontage is all out at the street. You have short frontage, right? 50 feet. We talked
So
about
that's
it.
4 flag lots. That's what you're saying.
So you're saying that then you can't do it.
I
I think what Lonnie is saying is we shouldn't be limiting the creation of only one lot per property, and I'd agree with him. I think his property is a perfect example of how it should be done. Rather than having 300-400 foot cul-de-sacs everywhere.
You can also look at the one we did on Blackstone Street. There was one we just approved the other night, which is another one on North Ave. That if you look at the amount of land that these have, there you can go in and you can do the short cul-de-sac with the 8 houses. I always forget the name of it. Bill, when we give the land back to the town, right?
Oh, conservation subdivision.
Yeah, right. So
Open space.
instead of,
You're talking open space.
subdivision.
I know I'm probably sounding like a broken record. 4 houses instead of 8, and we do not have to maintain the road any longer. It's on the residents to maintain their driveway. We don't, and then the developer doesn't have to build a roadway, so it's better and has less houses, and it's instead of 8 houses, we only have a possibility of 4 houses putting kids into the school. So there's kind of a win-win on this, but I don't want to have this bylaw then counteract what we were trying to do on the shared driveway bylaw.
Right, yeah.
I think there's
The other
separate
example I'd
issues
bring
here.
up, Lonnie, is if you had someone who had a large piece of property and wanted to, cut off a pork chop lot within it for a family member, or to, just because he needed a few dollars, then you get back into Bill's scenario. Now if he's only going to be limited to one lot forever, he's going to go the subdivision route.
Yeah, I mean, even
sell
with
it to the developer.
And I'll end it on this, so I don't talk all night. But the other part of it is the way that we kind of talked about it last week was you would have 50 feet. So you're still going to need 200 feet of frontage. It's not like we're taking 10 feet or 5 feet for their frontage. You still would need a considerable amount of frontage for those back lots. And I'll end on that. Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah, Ann.
I think I'm next. So I mean, they're kind of different. So the pork chop lot, if somebody just wants to put one house on, they can. And then the shared driveway, they have to have the frontage, but maybe it's all wet. So then that would allow them to build more houses in the back. So so Lonnie, what is your concern?
No, his concern is that if the bylaw stood with only one per property, then you are, I guess, Lonnie, not to put words in your face, or Patrick, you're encouraging subdivisions or the property not to be developed, one or the other, or forced to get a variance.
Right. All I'm saying is right, but now we're getting into this area of are we allowed to give a variance for these from the ZBA, right? So if we allow up to 4, all I'm saying is we can curb subdivisions by allowing 4, because you can still, I'm looking at this from both angles, right? As a developer, building 4 houses is still profitable when you don't have to build a road. You have to get into those larger number of dwellings to offset the cost of the roadways there, because they're very expensive these days. So they're always, but then if we look at it from a standpoint of 4, then again, the town doesn't have to maintain the road anymore, and it's less on the schools. So that is there's a great trade-off there for both sides looking at it from that angle.
Matt?
Yeah, I agree where Lonnie's going on this. The pork chop lot, whether it's existing or we created under this bylaw, shouldn't be limited to one dwelling or one house lot. Through the common driveway bylaw, it seems like up to 4 lots should be allowed. There's a lot of instances we've permitted or, issued variances on quite a few of these historically and recently, which have been challenged by allowing, 3 or 4 houses on a 50-acre lot or something like that. They're big lots. So it meets the minimum lot size requirements by far. And, making it by right, it solves a lot of problems. And it then takes this 50-acre parcel or 20, whatever number acre parcel, and really fixes it for almost ever as to it limits the number of houses that can be built on. And once you do the 4, call it 4, it's done. You can't then turn that around and make it a subdivision, do anything else.
Yeah.
One last note, real quick. Sorry, Jack. When we, again, keep in mind the frontage piece of that too. Right now, to have 4, you need 200 feet of frontage. So if you have a smaller lot that's only got 100 feet of frontage, well, you're only going to get 2, right? So the dimensions of the lot and the frontage of the lot is also going to dictate the maximum size you can get from it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's true.
Jack, what are the abuses of the pork chop lots?
Well, the classic ones, I forget what town it was. God, I remember this when I was in school even. Just crunching tons of them together and having, 20 or 15 driveways, like literally well, in this case, it would be 50 feet apart. I think there's a public safety issue that should be examined.
Hold on, Jack. I don't mean to interrupt you, but no, they wouldn't be 50 feet apart. There's a common driveway.
But no, there's no common drive. I'm just talking about the flag lot. Common driveway is different.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay,
There's
yeah.
no
that's different.
regulation demanding they use a common driveway because you can't assume someone's doing more than one flag lot. They might have 2 flag lots that aren't next to each other.
Yeah,
I think the towns, the few towns I've seen, and you're right, whoever said it, Bill, I think did. I was just doing some work in Amherst, very forward-thinking town. They allow quite a few flag lots. I was surprised at that. Others don't allow them at all. It's according to how you want your town to be developed.
well, a
Or
couple
not
things.
developed.
I mean, first, and I try to drive this as much as I can, is the low impact development. Low impact mean exactly what it means is, the least amount of disturbance. So that's why the way I was looking at it was, how do we create less disturbance? To be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of subdivisions. I mean, some towns even have these cluster housing. Upton has it specifically. And they're looking at just minimizing the amount of impact they have on the area. I also don't think Mendon is I don't think there's a huge amount of area to put flag lots in Mendon left. I
agree.
I think a lot of the ones that have been done have already been done. I mean, Asylum Street ended up loaded with them. So I'm not sure we're all of a sudden going to have, 50 flag lot applications coming in.
No, that's an exaggeration. Can I just interrupt just 1 second? Yeah, you got me thinking about, the only thing is flag lots have long driveways. You have a lot of them. There's no drainage control. The town does affect the town.
Well, we could set drainage control on it because I think we referenced that they need to utilize subdivision control law on the driveway.
No, that's in the common driveway.
Well, we can set the same thing but utilizing low impact development.
Yeah.
They won't need to put storm drainage in anyways. I mean, they use a swale. I mean, my personal opinion, and one of the reasons why I worked hard on the low impact development is because I grew up in this town where the water just shed to the side of the road, and we were fine forever. Now we're putting it in pipes and sending it to these drainage facilities, whether it be or down to like everything from Route 16, I think ends down at Muddy Brook. You know, to me, I believe that the best handling on these small impact, whether it be a development or this type of situation, is let it shed to the side of the road, put a swale if you want to control it, and let the water go back to where it belongs.
I think
Leanna
Leanna has her
hands
hand up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as someone mentioned, this is like definitely a policy issue, not a legal issue. And you guys are definitely the experts on development and, you know, what's going on in the town. So maybe this is a terribly dumb question, but just hearing some concerns about gaming and having, you know, these huge clusters of flag lots, you know, and, you know, for being maybe some level of tolerance. Is there any chance that this bylaw, no matter what number you set it at, whether it's 2 or 4 or whatever number of flag lots you allow next to each other, is there any chance, given the land left in Mendon, that this bylaw can be circumvented at whatever number you set, through the use of like an A&R plan, right? So if someone has a huge tract of land with more than 200 feet of frontage, like say 400 feet of frontage or 600, that they can break that then up into 3 parcels. And then if you set the number at 4, then that really means 12 side-by-side flag lots. And again, maybe that's a horribly dumb question from a non-developer, but just trying to think of ways to address some concerns that maybe there's going to be a ton of flag lots in one area.
Well, if they did limit it to 4, just hypothetically, and someone did that, yeah, I guess you could. They'd all be separate owners and. But,
Right,
you know,
but I think you
they're
have that.
extreme examples. They're extreme examples.
I think you have that covered by the fact that they can't touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't even got to that yet.
Yep, I haven't seen that. Okay, so that's down in the bio. That if it says that, then yeah, you're probably right. So again, I don't have any opinion whatsoever on what the right number is. Flag lots don't bother me, but again, I'm not into development, so I'm sure there are concerns with them. So just raising it, and if there's something in here.
I just put something in the chat that, you know, actually speaks to exactly what you were just talking about. So I guess my question is, you know, how do we secure this so that we don't end up with some sort of development or subdivision that has non-contiguous frontage on flag lots, but just repeating segments of flag lot, normal lot, flag lot, normal lot to maximize density, basically a double row subdivision. And like Leanna said, I'm not a developer, so I don't fully understand all of the mechanics of this. So, but just wanted to put that out there.
Does that really maximize density though? You know, I think the intent is actually to minimize density in the sense that we're limiting, you know, the impact of, say, a road and the shoulders and the sidewalks and all of the drainage infrastructure. You know, limiting it to 4 lots per flag lot, you know, per lot through the common driveway bylaw. Yeah, I feel like this is kicking this around and around here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But is there any situation where it could be combined with the subdivision control, basically to divide a big lot to end up with something that looks like what I have in the picture? That's what I'm asking.
You know, Brendan, it's not a bad question, and Matt's rebuttal is pretty good too. You know, I got 2 thoughts on this. Is I think you're going in the right direction. Maybe 4, maybe you don't even have the restriction that they don't touch. But there has to be a way, I think I'm hearing, that we try to regulate this so it doesn't get out of hand. Not that I think Bill's right. I don't think it would, but you never know. My other thought is that, and this is, I thought about this over the last few days, Is this something we really want to hurry up and get to fall town meeting, or should we keep talking about this and get it right?
We don't,
Spring is fine.
Yeah,
I mean, if
I
it's ready, it's ready, but I mean, if it's not, then we should.
yeah,
bring it to
I
the-
don't want to jam it. I want everybody to feel comfortable with it.
sure.
I think
know,
we're going in the right direction, though. I think you guys are. You're starting to coalesce on something. I just don't know what it is yet.
Well, also
is
just
it-
let's draw the contrast of what we started this meeting with. Accessory dwelling units, maximizing 2 dwellings on an existing, call it 2-acre lot, maybe even less. And now we're concerned about a 2 or 4 acre or even bigger lot for a single family home. We're trying to promote housing versus now we're trying to seems like we're trying to restrict it a little too much. I wonder if we're just
Yeah, but
getting
Matt, I think the argument is that the ADU is supposed to be helping with the affordable housing
Oh,
market. ADU, I mean, flag lots are not gonna be affordable housing. That's
Well,
Not unless they put an accessory dwelling on them. So.
Well, they could, yes, they
well,
could.
that's coming too, right?
Hey,
Yeah.
how about we demand it? If you want a flag lot, you have to have an ADU.
No, well, we're creating, if a developer can't, and I'm a developer, but I don't do a ton of residential. I mean, if we have a 20, 30 acre parcel and we're getting 4 houses on it, that's creating, something, that's I would say affordable, but I mean, it's not like these, someone's building a 10,000 square foot house on a 25 acre lot to maximize the return on investment of that thing, but I don't know.
Bill,
Maybe we're getting
do
off
you
the
think
track.
it's
I mean,
okay?
having dealt with the subdivision control for 15 years now. I mean, I look at certain examples in Mendon where you would have thought that wouldn't end up being the subdivision. Applewood comes to mind. Here we have
Sure.
an 8-lot subdivision built on a reduced amount of land because open space was provided. And we're doing this all the time on open space projects. So what if someone comes in now and says, okay, well, I want to screw it. I got 50 acres. I'm going to do an open space development and I want to put everything on 1/4 acre lots.
Mhm.
Like, like we allowed up at a pond or 30,000 square foot lots or whatever. They're going to, these things are going to start happening like with Applewood. There was open space provided, so we reduced the lot size. They stuck 8 houses on like 8 acres.
And now we have a road to maintain, right? Yeah.
Yeah, now we have a road to maintain. And there was if anyone looks at Applewood and the size of the width of the road, which we reduced from our current standard, and the sidewalks and the disturbance of that piece of property was great. And that's on 8 houses.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm looking at. I'm trying to reduce disturbance, not create more disturbance.
Forcing the hand of people
Well,
to go that route. Yeah.
We look at these roads and like I said, I grew up in an entirely different town. Mendon was, when I was growing up, there was a couple thousand people in Mendon. So now I look at an 8-house lot subdivision and I look at that road and I'm like, talking about overkill, right? I mean, Applewood's a perfect example of it. 8 houses, how many trips per day? Maybe 30 trips per day on that road, maximum. We've got this elaborate road that Mendon's going to maintain for the next 50 whatever years. And like I said, I'm more in line with the least amount of disturbance we can create within the community is better off. I mean, I don't think it helps out the developer either way. If he gets to put in, a few flag lots and he gets to, in Lonnie's property is a perfect example. As opposed to now we're going to rip it up and do an Applewood development. I just think it's not what we were looking for when we started looking at the low impact development. And that's why I was in such support of low impact development.
You
was
know,
because-
Bill, since it doesn't seem like we're in a hurry, why don't you let us take another crack at this? I think I got it. Another thought is, and I know Lonnie brings it up about the common driveway, and maybe we can have a relationship with the common drive. Like if you want to have, I'm making this up. If you want to have more than two, then they have to be serviced by a common drive or something like that.
Dave, can you just scroll down a little bit?
And that might help
There's something in there.
my concerns about, drainage and curb cuts, et cetera, et cetera. But I think I got.
I think some of them are already provisioned in here. Gabe, can you scroll down?
I think Jane is running.
Or Jane?
Yeah, it's D.
Oh yeah.
But to Ann's point, I mean, they're similar and related, but they're also a little distinct. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. They should be separate bylaws, but we can cross-reference like this
Agreed.
kind of does, but I think it has to be more direct. I mean, you do want to get rid of as many curb cuts as you can. I know it's not the same as a subdivision curb cut, but
yeah, right.
I think I have faith that we can come up with something maybe we can get most of us to agree with. But because I'm hearing your arguments, I'm hearing them.
Yeah. If it's this tough now, wait till we get to town floor. That's all I have to
Well,
say.
yeah, that's my other thought. Going to town meeting in the
my
fall.
my.
Oh my God, this thing would be ripped apart. I don't
Yeah,
blame them.
Jane and Gabe, I hope you're ready for
I'm busy that night.
Just let Jack present.
it. Yeah, we'll let Jack present. All right, so is that all we're left with going over tonight, or?
No, we had the
Nope.
common drive.
I
Now,
thought
the
that was all
comment-
kind of, we were gonna kind of all tie this in together now.
Now, we're gonna, this isn't tied together, but I see where it should be now. I got that. These were separate, just regulations on a common drive, special permit from the planning board. It has some infrastructure requirements to get the common drive built in a certain way. I know someone had a question about that.
Yeah,
that-
can we bring up that common driveway piece? I
Can you
don't
see it
see it
now?
on my screen.
that Lonnie can answer better than I can, I think.
Can you see it?
No,
No,
I can't see it.
but
No?
No.
I think that it's not a bad bylaw if it's in concert with the flag lot.
I got it in my email.
Because there are instances where existing lots may want a common drive. They haven't been developed yet.
Can you see it now?
No,
Oh,
where's
man.
Dylan?
I feel like Teams is being a little wonky only because I never saw what Brendan put in the chat.
Yeah, I can't find my
Yeah,
chat.
neither did I.
My
I
chat
was
isn't
gonna
working
ask about
either.
that.
I
If
can't find any of that stuff.
If you don't join from, are you all joining from your Town of Mendon account? Otherwise, chat's disabled by policy.
I thought I found.
So I'm joined by
And you still don't see it?
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
I've got a hard stop, guys, so I do have to leave. Excuse me.
Sorry, I'll just I'll just show my screen real quick.
Move on.
Actually, it's like that's difficult because
We're back.
one sec.
And while he's looking for that, I have to jump at 7:30, so I'll just gracefully hang up. But since there's no chat feature, I'm announcing that now.
This
Yay, what's that?
that's what I was talking about when I said I put something in the chat. I said, okay, what's to stop someone from basically dividing a bigger lot into smaller
that-
lots
yeah.
and repeating segments.
That's
Yeah.
possible, yes, that's
So
possible.
that's what I was talking about.
But it's
And
not because we haven't said that they can't touch.
it says contiguous frontage, and that wouldn't be the case if the road was down here.
Yep, yep, we could change that, obviously.
So that's
Yeah, I think that,
was my
And that
concern.
has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 curb cuts. That's,
And it would
that's a lot.
Yeah, and you could just repeat it. I mean, if you had a big parcel, you could repeat it as much as you wanted. I mean, that's what I was kind of getting at.
But this is where the common drive, I'm getting this now, where the
Makes more
common
sense.
drive makes more sense.
right.
And I'm pretty confident we can come up with something that protects us from this and protects us from abuse.
Well, this one doesn't meet the lot area requirement, which would be 2 times the normal
Well,
required
that's
lot
probably
area.
true, but you could just bring those back farther, that's all. Yeah. And these are kind of examples that I saw. I'm going to try to find that old example. It was used a lot when I was younger in my profession as abuse with flag lots. Yeah.
I'll stop sharing now. I think we all got the point.
Bill, we could table the common drive to the next meeting. I'd be glad to work with these guys and Dylan to.
Yeah, and I just quickly going over it, I was looking at the, we've got the residential driveway construction must consist of 6-inch gravel road base and 1.5-inch binder course, 1-inch top course. For commercial industrial driveways.
I
construction-
wanted Lonnie to comment on that if that's reasonable. I don't know if it is.
I think that's reasonable.
Sorry,
Yeah.
what's the question?
No, for the
I can't
resident,
see
they're
it.
talking about.
You can't
the
see it.
Residential driveways, construction must consist of 6-inch gravel road base, 1.5-inch binder course, and 1-inch top course. For
Yeah,
the
oh,
commercial
absolutely.
industrial driveways, what's that? Is that good?
Absolutely, that's totally fine. Yeah, I think of the width too. I think we made it even wider, right? Didn't we say like?
It said 18 feet.
Yeah, right. I think it was smaller than that, but yeah, no, that's having the area to pull, at least slide over. The traffic should be considerably low on it, right?
Right.
Is the idea.
Yeah.
Anne has her hand up as well, Bill, just in case you didn't see it.
So I think turnaround areas must be 60 feet, site distance. That's in quarter of Mass Highway design. You have to follow Mass Highway anyways. Permit holders should plan for common
Yeah, that was
driveways.
the concern about a curb cut, make sure it's safe, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sharing your screen? Because I'm not seeing it.
No,
No,
one sees it.
I'm reading from what I get emailed to me.
Oh, okay. I'll just pull it up
Yeah.
then.
Essentially,
Yeah,
the way
my-
we wrote it, it was blind of flag lots. It was just an a common drive on buildable lots without any special provision unless they got a variance, I guess. Just very straightforward, but now I see the nexus, and I know Jane had kept trying to get there, and now I'm starting to see it. I think we can do this. I don't know if we're gonna get it done.
I'm looking at the bylaw, and I mean the common drive looks, pretty straightforward, and it's similar to what I've seen from other communities. I mean, it's.
Oh, there it
applicants must provide drainage calculations relative to the design of the common driveway in accordance with Sanders 4.b of the subdivision controls and regulations. Propose appropriate mitigation for impacts on stormwater and quality. Once again, I think most people are going to utilize the low impact development regulations.
We could put that in there, LED.
Yeah. And
LED.
Like I
Bill
said,
and Bill
I'm
and
not a
Leanne.
huge fan. I'm not a huge fan on these low impact situations of putting water in storm drains. I'm just, to me, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
Bill, Ann and Leanna both have their hands up. Ann was first.
Okay. Okay, let
I
me
just
give
had
it,
two
let me get out of
questions.
this email.
One is, does the driveway have to be paved? Could it be gravel? That's one question. And then the other one is,
Okay, I have-
then the, mhm,
step away for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
okay. And then the other one is to Gabe and Jane, which they don't need to answer now, but is there an advantage to having the pork chop lot and the shared driveway? Like, is there a reason for having two of them? So that'd be my questions.
Can I answer, Ann? I think there is an opportunity for impervious surface, provided the topography calls for it. If you got a steep slope or anything like that, you're gonna need some integrity to the driveway. But I think some language in there that gives the planning board the discretion on a case-by-case basis makes sense. As
And I
far
thought-
as, yeah,
I was just gonna say the section that meets with the town accepted way should be paved. So you're not tracking
the
gravel off
apron,
into the
yeah,
roadway.
yeah, absolutely. We
Yeah,
should put some
yeah.
language in there. And as far as, should they be, are you asking, should they be two different bylaws or one and the same?
Me, are you asking?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, is there an advantage for having a pork chop bylaw and the shared driveway that maybe we're missing? That's all I was,
If you asked me a week ago, I'd say no, but I think there is now. I think there is.
I think they should be separate.
Well,
Definitely,
yes,
because
separate, but cross-referenced and utilized if necessary together.
yes. Yeah, I think
Sorry, Leanna,
if you had different standards in the pork chop lots than you do on, another standalone shared driveway, I think it'd get very confusing.
Yeah.
Leanna, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the discussion was just starting on the question I had because I was getting confused, Jack, with some of your comments as to whether you were suggesting we should merge the flag lots and common driveway bylaw. And I definitely agree with what Pat just said, is that I think they should be maintained two separate bylaws. I'd also suggest, again, not having really any opinion on common driveways, and the bylaw looks, good, that you can go to town meeting with the common driveway bylaw without going on the flag lots if you think the flag lots are going to give you an issue, because I doubt common driveways. Well, famous last words, right, Bill? We've seen
Yeah,
people have issues at work.
I was gonna say, hold your tongue.
Yeah, sorry. Famous last words. You would think that the creation of a common driveway bylaw would not wreak as much havoc as potentially the flag lot bylaw. And at least if you had the common driveway bylaw in place, Jack, then when you have your flag lot bylaw, you can reference that if you want to, again, wherever the committee falls out on that, if you're trying to reference that a flag lot has to have a common driveway, you'll at least have that bylaw in place.
I'm gonna hold off on any commitment on that until we read. Give me a couple weeks to work with CMRPC and Dylan to work on these two, and then maybe I can answer that one.
Yeah, Jack, as you're doing that, touch base with me.
I will. I
Anyway,
promise.
please.
Yep.
Yeah, Bill, it's 7:30, just a reminder.
Yeah, yeah, I think we've done enough beating of these for tonight.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Just for the record, Lonnie, these are very similar discussions that CMRPC and Dylan and we were having. We just kept going around.
Well, yeah, you try to find a balance and it's tough. I mean,
It's
Yeah,
tough.
exactly.
And Liana knows and Patrick knows, because we developed a lot of the bylaws that Mendon has now over the last like I said, I think when, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when, I came in office, our zoning book was like 9 pages. Now it's 90 something, but I'm probably gonna get bigger, but, it's, it's difficult to kick these back and forth and get them to be what you want them to. And, you're always trying to, on the caution, you're trying to be cautionary so it doesn't get out of hand, but then you don't want to be too restrictive so people can't use their property that they.
That's right.
Exactly.
So you're trying to be right down the middle, and it's hard.
Just a reminder, there's a motion
Okay,
on the floor.
so we
Second.
had, all those in favor, roll call.
All right,
So we
Tenio,
set a-
aye, and Mays,
Are we
aye.
meeting?
Aye.
Are we gonna
Oh,
meet
sorry.
on
Yeah,
October
James, 2
1st?
weeks. 2
Okay.
weeks.
Oh, yeah, we'll set a meeting for October 1st, 2 weeks.
At 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
Bill Ambrosino,
Aye.
Brendan Chanel,
Aye.
Leanna Moore,
Aye.
Tenio, aye. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody
Jane
have a
and
good night.
Gabe,
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jane and Gabe, we should
Yes.
decide when we're gonna meet, our little committee.
Okay.
Let's talk tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Thanks,
Sounds
guys.
good.
Thank you.
Hi, good night.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Brendan, just don't
Good
forget
night.
to stop the recording, bud.
I won't.
Okay, bye.